Welcome back. It is a Monday. It's the first Monday of the month, so it must mean it's Mondays with the Mayor. And Mayor Andi Summerville joins me this morning. It is Laramie Live on KOWB. Thank you for coming back on the program.
Of course. Thank you for having me again.
I appreciate the time. Let's start with, we're starting to crank up with the budget process here for the city of Laramie. So as we start talking about fiscal year 2017 and 2018, so it goes July 1 to June 30th of next year, what are the first steps that you guys look at in the City Council with the budget process?
So our first steps are going to start beginning of May, where we're going to have several budget work sessions. So we're going to take each section one at a time and go through them item by item and get an overview of what the city manager's recommendations are. Okay.
So they've been planning for this. They're going to compile a bunch of things and kind of throw them at you. This does not sound like a lot of fun. It sounds like very tedious step-by-step work, I'm imagining here.
It absolutely is, but it's very important that we go through every department, every section that we have, so that we can make sure that we're recalibrating the budget to the fiscal climate that we're in. It's very important to look ahead for planning for projects and those type of things. So.
What was the impact coming out of the legislature? I mean, they had just wrapped up. Do you guys have a better sense of what we're looking at from a financial standpoint from the legislature?
We do. Actually, we were very fortunate in that the cities and towns didn't take any cuts to their direct distribution. So we're not seeing any major revenue additional losses this year for the city of Laramie, which is very good. Sales tax is pretty flat right now, so again, pretty steady.
All right, so I guess maybe some good news in that regard, that we know what we're looking at. Are there any major issues of concern that you have with what's going on with the city budget at this point, even here just kind of planning to get ready for it here?
Well, one of my big concerns right now is with the fiscal climate that we're in, the ability for the city of Laramie to plan long-term capital investments. So replacements of parks, even street maintenance, that kind of thing. It's really hampered when we don't know quite what the fiscal climate is going to be next year or the year after. So although I think we'll be in okay shape this year, and hopefully we won't lose any more services and we won't have the need for that, planning is really hampered right now, and that just doesn't work well for the city.
Obviously, it's not like we have an unlimited money tree growing out back we can just go pick funds from. So have you heard from citizens? Have other councilors heard from citizens over maybe some priorities they'd like to see shifted from the budget?
Well, I've had a few comments to me through conversations and through emails, but I'd love to hear more. And hopefully as we get into this process here starting in a month, that we will pique the public's interest and we'll get more of that feedback.
Because I know obviously we've talked about, if citizens want some things emphasized, now's the time to speak up so that you know how to plan better and shift those dollars.
Absolutely, absolutely. If we don't hear from them, then we don't necessarily know what their priorities are and we can't address those.
Are there certain priorities you have in mind?
Right now, my big priority is streets. Of course, doing anything that we can for streets in West Laramie is always a big priority of mine, but also making sure that we're addressing the streets around the entire town, making sure we have enough money for road maintenance, to fill those potholes and take care of those really bad crumbling streets that we've got going on.
Yeah, road construction is always one of those hot button topics all the time, and I know that there's not an unlimited amount of money to work with. I know last time you kind of mentioned a few projects that are going on. One of them is ahead of the big grand project that YDOT's going to be doing. What exactly is that?
Right, so YDOT has in its schedule in the next year or two to go in and resurface Grand Avenue, to continue that all the way down to 3rd Street. And so the city of Laramie has some infrastructure under Grand Avenue that we need to address before YDOT does that. So it's very possible that this year in the upcoming months we will be doing some work on Grand Avenue to replace those utility lines prior to YDOT laying that nice, beautiful concrete.
Smooth surface,
yes,
instead of rough and jagged, and I try to stay away from Grand sometimes.
A street that is in dire need of attention.
Yes, and it always gets harped on by the city, and then everybody doesn't realize it's a state-controlled, YDOT-controlled highway, and then they, anyways, there are a number of things that we get into with our some of the questions we get here. Any other big construction projects you know of right off the top of your head that are coming up this summer for folks to pay attention to?
Well, certainly if you haven't driven by 3rd and Harney and you haven't noticed the giant equipment out there and the pounding going on every day, they've started on the Harney Street Viaduct. That is going to be the biggest construction project for this year. That will go into a very long day operations over the summer, and you can expect a lot of work out there, a lot of trucks going on. We also have some work on 18th Street that's going to be coming up around Sheridan. Hopefully that won't disrupt traffic too much. We also have the Empress lot in downtown that the funding was awarded from the Business Council, and they're hoping to break ground on that project in June. So that's a great project, but it might cause some downtown disruption. So with all of these projects, we're just asking people to, of course, be patient and understand that it's just a temporary situation and there are improvements behind it.
18th and Sheridan, by the way, that'd be right around Washington Park for those folks who are unfamiliar with that. The Empress lot is behind
2nd and Ivinson-ish. It's next to the green building. It's between the Cowboy and the...
Yeah. I know exactly where you're talking about.
Maybe the restaurant is fleeing my mind here.
Yeah, I know where you're talking about. So, all right, so downtown, look for that. And so road construction, we're getting towards that season as it warms up. Most major projects don't start until after July 1 just because that's when the money hits fiscal year-wise?
Not necessarily. Actually,
Okay.
in Laramie, we have such a short construction season as it is. You'll see a lot of these projects starting to hit the ground in May.
Okay.
Early June, absolutely.
All right, so just be on the lookout for that. And again, budget season is here, so if there are some things, we've had all kinds of hot button topics when it comes to snow removal in streets. If you want to see some money shifted around, now's the time to let your voice be heard and contact the city council. And certainly, you know, maybe if you want some shuffling, do that. We're visiting with Mayor Andi Summerville this morning, Laramie Live on KOWB. We always get questions about business recruitment, and obviously we've touched on this before with some businesses that have left, some that have come. What do you see as the City Council's major role when it comes to business recruitment?
I think that the City Council's major role is to make sure that Laramie is a welcoming environment for businesses. So, of course, we want to try to address our infrastructure needs, but what we really do is support our economic development agency in town through a fee-for-service agreement because they're the experts, they know what they're doing. The City Council also supports business council applications that come forth, recruitments for businesses like Bright Agritech, High-Vis. In fact, High-Vis Phase 2 will be kicking off this summer to build a building expansion. So we do have a role.
Obviously, I think some of the concerns of the citizens are some of your high-profile areas of what is the council looking at in terms of trying to help with, you know, the departure of a Hastings. You got such a big hole now there on 3rd Street in the Gateway Plaza. You know, what we didn't address last time, the departure of Boot Barn there on 3rd Street. You've got a few other places where there are just holes where businesses are now gone, and we don't know necessarily, I guess, from a public standpoint of what's kind of the future hold for some of those spots, and what is Laramie doing to try and get something done and fill those spots quickly?
Well, that's an excellent question. So one of the things that the City Council and the City of Laramie is doing is working on a retail recruitment study, working with some specialists that have identified some retailers that would probably be a good fit for the Laramie market. And the hope is that we'll be able to work with our consultant on that and reach out to these retailers and hopefully get some more people coming in to see Laramie and see the value that they can have for opening a business here, and hopefully that'll fill some of those spots. But again, we're really working to support our the Laramie Chamber Business Alliance, which is our primary economic development agency here in town, and I know they're working very hard to bring businesses in as well.
Obviously, it's just something that I think is on a lot of people's mind. You drive around town and you see things that have closed down, and you're sitting there going, what the heck, why can't we get something to fill that spot? So don't worry, they're trying to work on it. It doesn't maybe happen as quick as people would hope,
Absolutely.
I guess. All right, you got to have a little more patience, I guess. The Casper Aquifer was something we talked about last time, and obviously that meeting took place last Monday, and sounds like going to leave everything as is right now.
Well, the Planning Commission did vote that down. That's correct. So it'll stay as is. However, all Planning Commission decisions have to come, most Planning Commission decisions have to come to the City Council.
Okay.
So this request to change the use table is also going to come to the City Council. It'll come with a recommendation from the Planning Commission to deny it. So the earliest that the City Council will see that is probably on our April 18th meeting, although it's possible it could be 2 weeks after that. It kind of depends on the agenda load and the staff load. But the city council will have to take a look at that.
Okay. Have you guys on the council heard any feedback from the public on this?
We certainly have, although we've had a little bit of limited feedback for people that support it or businesses that support it, but the majority that I've received has been against it. People are speaking out very vocally that they want us to protect the aquifer, keep those protections in place. A lot of fear about creating any vulnerabilities near our primary water system.
And of course, this was a move by a local business out there, and I think some people were wondering about the disposal of waste hazards. Maybe the biggest kind of question among this?
I think so. So right now, the aquifer protection plan that we have in place calls for automobile dealers to not be allowed over in that area. They're just absolutely not allowed under any circumstances. So this change of use would have made them allowable.
Okay.
And the biggest thing I think people that have been worried about is the disposal of automotive use. There's also concern about vehicles that sit on parking lots that might leak gas or have other kind of contaminants that come off on the pavement, and then you get a rainstorm or a snowstorm and you wash all those contaminants right down into the drainage. So what do we do? What would you do to clean the water before it hits the drainage or goes into the Casper Aquifer or something along those lines? The conversation is about whether we can have significant engineering controls and satisfactory engineering controls that would alleviate those concerns is part of the conversation.
Well, and obviously I think that's a little bit of why you don't see everything like right next to the interstate in terms of gas stations, car dealerships, things like that. You really haven't seen anything expand out there. It's just been kind of more open area, basically, on the east side of town.
It has been. Sometimes I don't think that everybody realizes how big the Casper Aquifer is, and certainly over in that area of that East Grand exit, all of that is Casper Aquifer area. A lot of it's recharge area and sensitive to Laramie's water supply.
Something to consider as we visit with Mayor Andi Summerville here. You had one other item that you wanted to get to here this morning on the program, and so what are we talking about here?
So I just wanted to let everybody know and remind them that spring has sprung a little bit.
Kind of.
Winter might be back, but
it's hit and miss.
Yeah, exactly. So we have got our annual Community Service Day coming up on April 22nd, and just want to encourage everybody, if they have a group that wants to do some cleanup, or individuals that want to do cleanup, to reach out to our community service department and our code enforcement officer, Brian Forrester, to let him know to sign up. We're also going to take people that want to just step up that day and volunteer. And then city council members will be cooking for the public afterwards at a free barbecue for anybody that wants to come out. So that's a really great thing for the city to do. You'll be able to dispose of your waste free at the dump, that kind of stuff. But it also brings up the green waste containers that everybody loves to use around town.
Yeah. And
just a reminder that those green waste containers aren't going to come out until April 24th this year.
Okay.
So if anybody has green waste and they're really excited about spring and they're out there cleaning their lawn, just a reminder, please take that out to the dump. We don't want people dumping it on the sites where the green waste containers are without the container there.
Yeah.
So it's free at the dump. You just have to drive it out there and we'll take it.
We had an issue in the public with that just a short time ago, and luckily some nice young men volunteered to clean a lot of that up there at 9th and Russell.
They absolutely did, and we're very appreciative of their help and their service in taking all of that out to the dump. And it's just a good reminder for people. We know the green waste containers are really, really popular, but we can't get them out there until the weather is right. Otherwise, we kind of get a big sloppy mess. So just take it out to the dump. It's a short drive.
Yeah, it doesn't take you 45 minutes to get across town here in Laramie. Trust me on that. So, dump, by the way, open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., by the way, just in case. Somebody was asking us the other day, when does the landfill open on the weekend? I'm like, it's open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 4:30, always closed on Sundays. That was my response to them. And I'm like, I don't know what more to tell you, other than it's always closed on Sundays and holidays. Well, I appreciate the update coming back in, and we'll catch you here in about a month.
I appreciate it. Thank you again.